deflation. In the end, they couldn't even buy or sell. There are bargains everywhere. Everything is on sale, and that's not a good thing. Consumer prices in October fell at the fastest pace in more than 60 years, sucked down by the rapidly deteriorating economy. The prices of oil, food, cars, clothing, and electronics, among other consumer goods, have all plunged. Home prices continue to dive, and so do stock prices. And, as the early reports from the holiday shopping season suggest, the nationwide fire sale might seem like a good thing for consumers, but it's increasing the risk that the economy could become mired in a dangerous deflationary spiral, a downward spiral. This is the ripple effect. A widespread, sustained reduction in prices. That's something that hasn't happened here since the Great Depression. Again, since the Great Depression. Economists say it's too early to tell whether deflation has set in, and many say the government's aggressive responses to the credit crunch likely, well, it probably won't prevent deflation. Of course, others aren't so sure about any of this. Some say that stag-deflation, a recession combined with deflationary forces, will be a big concern in the coming months, here and around the world. A deflationary spiral can have several causes, such as a widespread glut of goods that forces manufacturers to slash prices. In the current crisis, the bursting of the housing bubble has forced home prices down, pulling down the prices of raw materials, cars, and even stocks. As prices fall, consumers eventually stop spending, either because they are worried about their jobs, that's for sure, or because they figure they can get lower prices later. So then, companies start laying off workers because lower prices have pushed down or eliminated their profits. If they can't make enough money to keep producing what they produce or make, then they'll go out of business or fail. Then, again, there'll be nothing to buy or sell. In the end, they couldn't even buy or sell. That in turn means even less demand. It is a ripple effect of some kind. Ultimately, higher unemployment and lower demand create a self-reinforcing cycle that further depresses profits, growth, wages, and prices. President-elect Barack Obama cited the danger of deflation last month in calling for a massive stimulus bill to put millions to work in the next 2 years and boost economic activity. Already, prices are cracking nationwide. Crude oil is down about 70% from its 2008 high to $46.96 a barrel. Wheat is down approximately 60% from its 2008 high. Home prices are down 21% from 2006 highs. And it's not just houses and raw materials, it's many other things. Costco wholesale sold 20% more TVs in October than it did a year ago. But here's the catch. Because prices were lower, the dollar amount from all TVs sold was below the year earlier total. Consumer spending fell 1% in October, the biggest decline since September 2001. There's a sign there too, of course. And the fourth consecutive monthly drop, the Commerce Department says. Many consumers are waiting to spend. One bargain shopper, a hospice social worker in San Diego, says record high gasoline prices earlier this year and the rapidly falling stock market led her to be even more careful with her money. She has kept up the practice even though prices at the pump have fallen. I do a lot more comparison shopping. I know what is a good price for pretty much everything I buy. Jerry Melnick, a partner of Gordon's Ace Hardware, A string of hardware stores in downtown Chicago says people have gone from replace to repair and are spending less per shopping trip. He expects to mark down Christmas-related goods earlier than usual this year and is still waiting to see how much his suppliers cut their prices, if at all, on other items. He said, "I haven't seen too much come down yet. It's obviously very scary times for everybody. No, these are not normal times at all. Things aren't going to just somehow fix themselves." Deflation, yes, deflation, hits investors too. Falling prices are devastating to nearly every type of investment except for Treasury securities. When prices fall steadily, companies repeatedly chop prices until only the strongest or left standing are still in business. For example, during the 19th century, when deflation was more common than inflation, railroad barons would routinely engage in price wars, slashing fares until only one or two railroads were left standing. Of course, that creates monopolies. The price would go back up again. The victor would then buy the bankrupt companies for pennies on the dollar. In a deflationary period, the best investment is a bond backed by a very strong issuer, like the U.S. government or a top-quality corporate borrower. Bonds are long-term IOUs that pay regular interest. When prices fall, each new interest payment can buy, theoretically, more goods and services. Sam Stovall, chief stock strategist for Standard & Poor's, notes that one of the greatest bull markets of all time was from 1932 to 1937, when the Dow Jones Industrial Average soared to 192 from 42. But stocks in the 1930s, aside from being extremely cheap relative to earnings, were prized mainly for dividends. There are gloomy predictions, and many of these have come true. Because of the collapse of the debt markets will possibly lead to even more increased defaults, and that in turn will feed deflation as companies frantically sell assets at any price to try to remain afloat. Others are also worried about deflation. The global economy gives a good impression of having run at top speed into a solid brick wall, said one institutional money manager. "I defy anyone to find anyone who isn't cutting back. They are all deep into ways to be frugal." Some think that we could have something reminiscent in some respects to the Japanese situation that began in the early 1990s. A very long, low-grade, deflationary recession. One reason, U.S. investors in stocks and bonds may have to write off at least $20 trillion. He says, when you write off that much of your net worth, it changes the whole world. Some deflation, a certainty. At least in the short term, deflation is inevitable. Part of it is already baked in the cake, given the fall in commodity prices. Some say that as the Fed acts to tamp down inflation, it must send a clear message, but it won't let deflation take hold. So, will pushing rates to zero have an effect? Does it make a difference if interest rates are 1% or 0.5% or zero? And cutting rates to near zero has practical problems. Anyway, deflation is very real, the reverse of inflation. And, like I say, this is all connected. This has been foretold. In the end, they couldn't even buy or sell. This is a true saying. And all these are more signs of the end times, transition days. Just watch the news. Look around. There are many, many signs.